In the world of Dr. Stone, there's a spot of darkness on the surface of the moon. It's not part of the moon, nor is it something that was placed there by human hands. It's something strange, something different. It is the very thing responsible for petrifying most of the human race for thousands of years. And we're about to reveal exactly what it is. From the clues we've gotten so far in the anime to the overwhelmingly big reveal that came at the end of the story, this is the true identity of Y-Man, the big bad villain of Dr. Stone. Spoilers ahead. Imagine a world where all of humanity gets turned to stone. Every single person on planes, roads, houses, and offices suddenly petrified by a strange green light. 3,700 years later, a genius teenager named Senku, who managed to keep himself conscious while petrified, is the first to wake up in this stone world. With his insane knowledge of science, he creates a revival fluid and uses it to bring back more people in hopes of restoring human civilization to what it used to be. This is basically the story of Dr. Stone. The series is packed with realistic sci-fi elements, crazy comedy, decent action animation, and some low-key great food recipes. But through it all, there's a huge mystery, a very big question that's always on the back of everyone's heads, which is, what caused the petrification of human beings? For a while, this was one of the biggest mysteries in all of anime and manga, almost as mysterious as things like the One Piece or the full extent of Gojo's aura. Thankfully, we know for a fact what caused the petrification, because the series officially ended in 2022, giving us the answer we've been looking for. In the anime, we've gotten some breadcrumbs as to the nature of what caused the petrification. In the Age of Exploration arc, when Senku created a radio tower to properly navigate the sea, the radio received coded messages from an unknown source. The message only had one word: why? Senku, being the low-key aura farmer that he is, realized that this was the voice of the entity that had caused the petrification, and they named it Y-Man. Fast forward to the Treasure Island arc of the series, and we find a village filled with the descendants of people who survived the original petrification beam. And somehow, they're in possession of a machine that turns people to stone. They call the machine the Medusa. You know, from the Greek mythical creature that turns people to stone. That's the second clue we got. The third clue came after they defeated the main antagonist of the Treasure Island arc. This idiot named Ibarra. Bro had the most annoying voice in all of anime. I dislike him so much.
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting.
At the end of the arc, we find out that a lot of Medusa machines fell from the sky at some point in the village, and humans started using the Medusas as weapons, until the chief of the Treasure Island village ordered that all the Medusas be destroyed, and only one was left intact. We also discovered that the machine is activated by calling out a number in meters and a number in seconds, like 1 meter 1 second, or 5 meters 3 seconds. The meters represent the amount of space the petrification beam is going to cover, and the seconds represent the amount of time the machine needs to wait before it releases the beam after the command has been given. We also discovered that a voice was giving a command via radio waves. The command was 12,800,000 meters 1 second, which is the diameter of the Earth. This was Y-Man, and he was speaking with Senku's voice, meaning Y-Man wanted the Medusa to release another beam to petrify the entire planet and all the newly revived humans, meaning this entity is really hell-bent on making sure humans stay petrified. Here's the part that kicked us all in the butt. They discovered that the message was coming from the moon. Y-Man was on the moon. When the team journeyed to South America, which was the site where the petrification beam came from, at the start of all this, they found millions of old Medusa machines that formed a pyramid. It's here we find out that the machines are not seen by radar, and they're powered by tiny pieces of diamonds. And if it had enough power, one Medusa can release a beam that can cover the entire planet, and we actually saw this happen. In the recent season, when Senku's team was on the brink of losing everything to Zeno, Senku's genius mentor or enemy and his aide, Stanley. The team used Y-Man's broadcast to cover the entire planet once more, mainly to stop Zeno and his team. And also because a lot of Senku's friends were dying. That's another odd thing about the Medusa. Aside from petrifying a person, it also had healing properties. When an injured person gets petrified, when that person gets revived, every injury, both physical and mental, gets healed. It's like the Medusa is some kind of Dr. Stone? I know, it's a good joke.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
But the fact is, petrification can heal all injuries. It can also bring back the dead, provided that the person's cells have not degenerated beyond repair, like, say, a rotten corpse. And once a person is petrified, their consciousness stays preserved in stone. So in theory, This Medusa technology grants humans immortality. These are the revelations that Senku and his friends have gotten, and they honestly pose more questions. Like, why is the technology responsible for ending the human race for 3,700 years also responsible for human immortality? Why is Y-Man so focused on petrifying humans? And for the love of God, who the hell is Y-Man? Now, this is when we get into the spoiler territory, so if you have the heart and honestly don't care about spoilers, then I recommend watching the rest of the video, because it actually gets crazy from this point on. After Senku and his mentor Zeno settle their differences, the two geniuses of what is technically the 58th century work together to build a space shuttle. And I don't want to give everything away, but they literally built satellites, the internet, and called on some of the greatest minds in the world to work on this problem. It was crazy. At some point, they put the only working Medusa they had in a vacuum-sealed container, and guess what? It suddenly activated and turned everyone around to stone. It was at this point that they discovered a spot of darkness on the surface of the moon, something that wasn't there before, and they deduced this must be Y-Man's base. Eventually, they built a rocket, and a 3-man team led by Senku was sent to the moon. Well, technically it was a 4-man team, but that's not important right now. At this point, they're using the Medusa as a tool, and they place it inside an oxygen-filled container and use it to petrify themselves before heading into space. Once in orbit, an automatic revival fluid release system activates to bring them back to life. As Senku and his team travel through the moon with the Medusa in hand, one of his crewmates, Kohaku, suddenly hears Senku's voice over the radio, instructing her to open the case, holding the Medusa. She obeys, believing it's Senku's voice, until the real Senku suddenly yells for her to stop, insisting that he never said a thing. That's when we realize the truth. Y-Man was speaking through the Medusa. Moments later, the crew takes it to the dark spot on the moon, and that's where we finally get all our answers. Now, if you're enjoying this video, you'd love to see more, and you want to join a growing community where we talk about anime, manga, and other fascinating stories, then please hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free, and it takes like 2 seconds. Come on! Plus, it helps build our community a lot. So, the subscribe button, give it a click, leave a thumbs up for this video, and let's get back to the story. First off, who is Y-Man? Well, it turns out Y-Man is the Medusa, or Medusas. Does that make sense? The Medusas are actually living alien machines, like a hive mind, and they're very intelligent and powerful, with each unit being able to release a beam that can petrify any living organism that they desire. While in space, they can move and defy gravity, and they communicate via radio waves. But here's the part that'll keep you up at night. Medusas are actually machine parasites. Well, technically they are machine symbiotes, at least by their definition, but hey, who's counting? But let's stay in line with the manga and call them parasites. We find out the nature of Y-Man's Medusas when the machines explain why they petrified humanity in the first place. According to the Medusas, they are an ancient race of humanoid machines, and they have no idea who created them. But since they were aware of their own existence and the possibility of their demise, Y-Man searched for a race of intelligent alien species that could help them live forever. Their plan was simple. They will give any intelligent species the gift of petrification, which by their definition is eternal life, because petrification means you can live forever in stone. Your consciousness is preserved, and to them, there's no greater thing than living forever to avoid death. It's like a new product that they released into the human market, one that makes every person live forever. You know, something every smart person should want. Any intelligent species that experiences this awesome power will realize the coolness of the Medusae and try to replicate them and even make more diamond batteries. That's what the Medusas thought, but they were in for an unexpected revelation. You see, the way they defined intelligent life is that intelligent life is any life that is able to generate radio waves. And with sufficient intelligence in radio waves, the intelligent life can easily break out of the stone and realize the awesome power of the Medusa. You see, the petrification process was designed in a way where an intelligent species can easily break out of it if they wanted to. It wasn't supposed to be a permanent thing. It was supposed to be like a really good shirt that made you live forever whenever you put it on. And you can take it off whenever you want. But they didn't expect that humans would want to. They assumed that all intelligent life wanted to live forever like them. In their heads, humans were supposed to discover this new shirt that kept them alive, and when they came out of it, they would want to put it back on. But in order to do that, they would need more Medusas. They would need a way to make more shirts or more products, and that way humans will start making more Medusas to petrify themselves and live forever. And the Medusa population would be regenerated. That was the original plan. An unspoken quid pro quo situation in the sense. We give you eternal life and a means to cure all your illnesses, even death, and in return, you make more of us. Simple understanding. They felt they didn't need to negotiate or discuss with humans. Eternal life was enough bait. Humanity, on the other hand, could generate radio waves. But what the Medusa did not know was that the humans were not intelligent enough to easily break out of the stones that were created, and even when they didn't realize the awesome power of the Medusas and try to make more of them. Y-Man was puzzled. Like, what is wrong with humanity? Why are they not interested in us? So they came up with another plan. After thousands of years, when the inhabitants of Treasure Island were polishing seashells which generated radio waves too small to recognize, their headpieces served as antennae to help broadcast their presence to the Medusas on the moon. Y-Man realized that these were survivors of the first petrification blasts and decided to send more units to the island and give humans a first-hand experience of the awesomeness of petrification. Thanks to the antennas on their head, they could broadcast instructions on how to use the petrification technology into the minds of the people, and they gave them a great amount of Medusas to use. That's how the people of Treasure Island got hold of the machines and how they learned to use them. But this became a source of even more confusion for the Medusas, because when the humans finally saw and learned how to use petrification, they were still not curious about the Medusas. They didn't even try to make more, or at least try to replace the batteries. It wasn't until the 58th century that a human finally broke out of the stone, Senku, and he started making all sorts of machines on the ground until he got to radio waves, and Y-Man was pissed when they noticed it. That's why they broadcast a message to Senku's radio and asked only one question. Why? Meaning, why do you reject petrification? Why don't you like the idea of living forever? Do you want to die? It's like you're obviously intelligent enough to generate radio waves. Why is living forever not on your top priority? The only explanation they had was that humans still did not understand the gift of petrification, so they kept trying to petrify humans over and over again. It's also why they spoke with Senku's voice on the radio, because normally Y-Man speaks with Morse code. But after Senku used a radio to activate a Medusa during his fight with Ibarra, they decided to replicate the voice of the genius human who understood how to use petrification. They did this to show the world the glorious power of petrification once more. But what about the spontaneous petrification that occurred while that Medusa unit was sealed in a vacuum? Also, why can't the Medusas speak to the humans while they are on Earth? Well, that, my dear viewer, is because oxygen is toxic for Medusas. Whenever they're in contact with our air, they start to corrode or rust, so they can't function properly. Sure, they can release the petrification beam when they are told to, but that's all they can do. So when they placed a Medusa unit in a sealed vacuum chamber, one that had no oxygen, the machine suddenly regained its normal functions, and it tried again to show humans the wonders of petrification one last time. So what happened next? Well, that Medusa unit that was alive and kicking on Earth realized that human beings did not have the scientific knowledge to create more of their kind. That's when Senku made them understand that when they petrified humans thousands of years ago, they essentially stopped the scientific advancement of humanity. They stopped us from being able to develop the technology that could replicate them. Senku says that humans might not live forever, but through science each generation builds on what the past left behind. So by petrifying humanity, the Medusas ended up ruining their own plan. Frustrated by how things turned out, Y-Man leaves the Earth to search the universe for a suitable intelligent species that will assist them. Because Y-Man can do so many things. They can target and heal any living being they desire. They defy the laws of gravity and are able to move freely in space. They can even cluster together to look like humans. But if there's one thing they cannot do, it's make more of themselves. So Senku has a private conversation with the machines and he tells them to stay, since they are obviously an advanced alien race. Why not help humanity improve their science to the point where they can actually create them? Y-Man says no, and the Medusas leave never to petrify humans again. But they left one Medusa unit. That's the one that's been with them all along and says Senku can study and work with that. Because the way Senku talks about science has made the Medusas curious and excited. Which is ironically what Senku always says. That's the essence of this video, to celebrate the poetic way the story answered its greatest question. Say what you want about Dr. Stone. This story managed to stay consistent with its theme that science is an amazing thing, and it should be used to save lives. And the story of the Medusas and why they petrified humanity is absolutely genius and on brand with the story. I just love it so much. It celebrates science in a way that no work of fiction has ever done. And it also just gives this symbolism of hope. Hope for the future and hope that anything is possible with hard work and collaboration. Even the Medusas, despite their misguided view of the world, acted out of desire to save themselves and the species they believed would aid them. Sure, they didn't do a good job at executing the plan, but they decided to share some of their knowledge with humanity. This goes back to the show's theme of sharing knowledge and settling our differences for the greater good, which is very important for scientific discovery. You know how it is. Dr. Stone is one of those few stories that managed to stay consistent in its themes right until the end. It did not lose its essence, it provided a compelling and realistic answer to its big questions, and concluded in a satisfying way, and that's honestly something precious and commendable. So let us know what you think about the ending of Dr. Stone. Did you like it? Do you agree it was a great ending, or do you disagree? Also, YouTube thinks you're going to love this video on your screen, so click it and find out.